Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're here today. I'm also really happy about my guest today, and that is Chris Naugle, because the information Chris teaches, and I'm not exaggerating, this can actually change your life. Chris is America's #1 money mentor. He's on a mission to teach people how money works and to show them some of the secrets of the wealthy. Now, don't we want to all know that? Chris has built and owned 16 companies over the past 20 years. He's been featured in numerous publications, television shows, and he had his own HGTV show, Risky Builders. So that's a cool name. He's currently the CEO and founder of Flip Out Academy, the founder of the Money School, and the Money Mentor for the Money Multiplier. That's a lot of words with money in them. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's all about money, right?
All about money. It's like, so I know you didn't start out as a real estate investor. So tell people a little bit about your backstory, your background, and how you actually ended up here.
Sure. I mean, I grew up in a very lower middle class family. Dad was an alcoholic. Mom had to raise me. It was a massive struggle for her. And that's how I grew up, just not knowing anything about money and just not having any. So that went just like that for a long time. But I was always a very, an entrepreneur spirit. I was a dreamer, really. That's what I was. And in that dreaming, I always wanted to be a professional snowboarder. So that's kind of where it all began, is my hunt to become a professional athlete or a professional snowboarder. And being from Buffalo, New York, that's not an easy thing to do. But I ended up managing to get that. And how it happened is, I'm going to skip through a lot of the stuff. But by 2004, or actually, let me go back. By the time I was 16, I had hated working for other people. I was so badly degraded at the jobs I'd had up to that point that the one day I quit trading hours for dollars, and I started a company in Mom's basement called Fat Clothing Company. It was a skateboard, snowboard clothing line, and it was PHAT, just so you know. And that was kind of how I made money to fuel my snowboarding dream. And along that snowboarding dream, over the next year and a half, I was selling my clothes to all these shops that were putting on these snowboard events. And I started to kind of realize, wow, I really want my own shop. So by 1994 is when the shop opened. But by 2004, I was operating and running a successful chain of skateboard, snowboard shops called Fat Man Board Shops. And I had started those by my mom not wanting to see me, not live my dreams. Because that dream almost vanished when I was 17. I was a 17-year-old with no money, had no assets to my name, and I needed a $70,000 loan to do this. My mom literally did a foolish thing, and smart thing in the way it worked out, but put her house up on the line so that her crazy punk snowboard kid could chase his dream. So that's how I did it. I became a pro snowboarder. I had these stores. And in early 2000s, when the dot-com recession hit, I was forced to actually go back in the workforce, and I landed in the financial advisory world. Strange way it happened. I put resumes out, and that's who called me. So I thought it was a temporary thing. I didn't really want to be a financial advisor. I wanted to be a pro snowboarder, which I was, and I wanted to run my stores. But I needed money to do that. So the advisory practice, that I started at is how that kicked off. I loved it. I started learning how it worked. I watched the movie Wall Street. You remember the original Michael Douglas one?
I do.
That movie changed it all for me. Like, not because he was greedy and all that, but just because he had things that I wanted, right? And I always looked at people that have had things that I never did, and I chased that, right? And that's what I did. So all the way to 2008, I crushed it as an advisor. I was one of the top 3 advisors. I was flipping a couple houses because I'd seen it on TV shows like so many others. 23 minutes and you can flip a house. So I started flipping houses. It didn't take 23 minutes, and I didn't make the money that they made on the show, but I got into it. And by 2008, I had my next big dream. Things were going so well. I'm like, all right, my lease is ending in my main store, and I'm going to buy this dilapidated paint store 2 buildings down. It was a garbage, moldy mess. And I'm going to convert it into a 3-unit strip mall. So I began that process, borrowed money from some of the wrong people, definitely not the right people to borrow money from, but I did because they were crazy enough to give me the money. So I took it. And then what happened. 2008. The Great Recession kicked in, and it brought me to my knees. This was the first time, not the first time I'd failed, but the first time that I'd really realized the impact of how like close I got to bankruptcy. I literally got one payment away from bankruptcy. And the only way I managed to get out of that mess is I went to my girlfriend who had just moved into my house. She's now my wife and mother of our child. But I went to her and I said, sweetie, I need your help. I need your help paying the mortgage. I need your help paying the utilities. And by the way, sweetie, we got to rent out that bedroom to my friend Pete, and probably going to have to rent out the upstairs bedroom to my friend Jessica because I can't make it. I had a 50-50 shot here of her actually just saying, you know what? That sounds great for you, but not me. I'm gone. And she could have walked out the door. But I think she kind of liked me because she did stick around and we made it through that. Then in 2009 to 14, like I was still down on my luck. Things weren't going great in 2009. But what I did is I did realize that there was an opportunity in real estate. I started buying apartment buildings, pennies on the dollar, and I got up to 36 units by 2014. So from paper, it would appear that I was right there. But what a lot of people don't know is I wasn't right there. I was literally leveraged. I was over leveraged. I was under knowledged. And in 14, I brought my 37th deal to the bank and the bank said no. And I'm like, wait, how? Why? We've done all this together and now you're not going to approve me for this 37th deal. And they calmly said to me, yes, we can't. You don't fit in the little square box, the debt to income ratio box. But that was nothing. The next thing that happened is what brought me to my knees again. They froze my lines of credit because I didn't fit that. I didn't fit that box. And a lot of people don't realize banks are in control. You think because you got a line of credit or a home equity line of credit that you're safe? No way. The bank in a moment can just shut that right off. And they did to me. And because of that, I had to sell all 36 units. Me and my wife, well, she was my fiance then, had to sell our dream house. And I literally got so down on my luck and my everything. I went to Thailand for a month just to clear my head. And I came back and I said, you know what? I need to learn. I need to learn what I don't know, because what is it that the wealthy are doing that I'm not? This can't be. They're not riding this roller coaster ride. My wealthy clients that are in real estate, they're not doing what I'm doing. So I'm doing something wrong. And I found that knowledge at a 3-day event that I went to. I went to the event because they were giving away an iPod shuffle. No two ways about it. I wasn't going because I wanted to learn. I needed the iPod shuffle. And at that thing, I met 2 people. I met Mike and I met Greg. Now, Mike had a TV show on A&E and Greg was his bank. He lent him all the money. And when I heard these 2 gentlemen talk, instantly, like day 2, I propped right up and I'm like, whoa. That's what you're doing? Like, that's how you're getting money? That's how you're using money? Hold on a second. Because everything I've learned, and I'm a high-level advisor, everything I'd learned as an advisor was the opposite of what these guys were doing. And that's sort of where the story begins. That's kind of where the journey began. And I started going down the road of chasing around and following around and paying multimillionaires and billionaires to mentor me to learn one thing. What is the secret behind how money works? And I mean, that was 7 years ago. And here I am. And now I'm America's #1 money mentor. I've literally cracked some of the codes. I still have a lot to learn, but I literally have figured out a lot of the things that will change. Like you said, I physically, and I don't say this bragging or boasting, but I have the ability with what I know to teach people how they can change their lives by changing simply one thing.
That is so fascinating. It's interesting to me that so many people think that they look at successful people and they go, well, they just had this, or it was easy, or they don't really know about all the times you failed on. And I think failure it's a part of success. Maybe not on the level of 2008. We don't want to do that again. But yeah, when it comes to money, that is the thing that really defines success, I think, is your ability to have money, because you are absolutely right. Credit lines were shut off. The banks wouldn't loan money. People could have an 800 credit score and they went, nope, your portfolio has got too many C properties, or whatever the reason was they made up for that day. But they were in control, and getting control of your money it's not that easy. It's not easy. And we talked a little bit before the show about kids today. They didn't teach me anything about money in school. They still don't teach them anything about money. So they come out with a giant gap in their knowledge. So What do you say to all of that? I mean, how do you fix that problem before we even go forward with the other problems?
Well, the very first thing we need to do is accept the fact that there is indeed a problem. And if you don't think there's a problem and you just think that the way you do things and the way you've been taught to do things with money is just the way that it is, well, there's nothing that's going to help you, because here's what the reality is. Your whole life, whether you know it or not, you have been taught to give up control of your money. Think about it. From a young age, I remember my grandmother, who was working into her retirement because she didn't save enough and didn't do some of the right things. But she said to me, she said, Chris, when you get a job, make sure they have a 401k. And if they match, put as much money as you can so that someday you don't have to work into your retirement like us. So that's what I was taught, right? Put your money in your 401k, which most people are like, yeah, that's what I was taught. And that sounds like a logical idea. But think about what we really are taught to do. We are literally taught to give up our good dollars today and give up control. Because in putting money in my 401ks when I was doing that, did I have control of that money? Absolutely not. The financial company was in control of my money. And I was sitting there and I was doing it because, number one, I got a tax deduction, which really didn't mean anything. I was paying tax. I wasn't doing the right thing, because what I didn't realize is by giving up my best dollars today, I was giving them the control of my money. And then I was waiting till someday in the future, 59 and a half is the number, to take that money back out for this magical thing called, retirement, which we think is just this, we ride off on a sailboat or we fly off on a unicorn and like that's retirement. But what did you really do there? Well, first off, you gave up control. Second off, you compounded your taxes, because aren't you going to make more money in your life? Chances are yes. And as you make more money, don't your taxes go up? Absolutely. They're designed to do that. And as you make more and your taxes go up, who's winning? Well, not you. And then not only that, didn't they just print $2 trillion? And I think it's even more now, but they're printing money. And when they print money, it creates a thing called inflation. Now, you may not understand inflation in its whole entirety, but it's nothing more than a hidden tax. As they print money, it steals dollars from you, or steals value from your current dollars. That's how $2 trillion gets its value. There's no gold vaults anymore, right? The leprechauns rode the rainbow over, stole all the money from the gold vaults, and they took it somewhere. And we don't have gold that backs our money. So it's literally fiat money. It's not even real. But the value of that money is derived by the current value of our money. So they print $2 trillion, your money just became worth less, which means it costs more to buy milk, costs more to buy cars, costs more to do everything you do in your life. It's called inflation. You know about this. But what we've been taught to do is give up control of our money. And then someday later, we're paid back with weaker dollars. The same exact thing has happened for your bank accounts, right? This is awesome. I just went to the bank this morning and I had recently made a large deposit in my bank. And the banker sits down, does her, peaceful greetings through the little, plexiglass screen. Yeah. And then she sees my account and she says, hey, I meant to talk to you about this before, but I see that you just made a large deposit and we've got this special promotion going on. I'm like, oh, do you? And she slides this paper under the little thing and it says 0.5%. 50 basis points. And she says, yeah, so we've got this. You can make 50 basis points. And I said, what am I making now? She says, well, you're just in a checking account. You're making nothing. And I said, yeah, that's what I figured. And now you're going to pay me 50 basis points. What do I have to do? Well, you just have to leave it in the account for 6 months. Well, okay. Exactly what I'm saying. And I said to her, I said kindly, I was really nice. I said, listen, I said, all that money in there, I already wrote checks against all of that. And she's like, oh, what are you buying? What are you doing? I said, no, nothing. I'm just moving it to a different bank. And she said, oh, I'm sorry. Did we like do something wrong? I said, no. I'm not moving it to a bank. I'm moving it to my mutually owned insurance company bank where all my money is. And as soon as money hits my bank, you'll notice there's never much. She's like, yeah, I always see that. You do large deposits and then all of a sudden the money disappears. So she's like, I thought you just were paying things off or doing stuff. I just said, no, I just, over on this bank that I do with these insurance companies, I make 4% guaranteed on my money. 4%. Holy cow. What are they doing? I said, oh, nothing. It's very simple. It's just a stupid, specially designed and engineered whole life policy. Oh, and she kind of gets this look like she doesn't even understand. I said, yeah, but it doesn't work like a regular whole life, because that's what she's thinking. And I said, and then when the money hits that, I just move that money again. And I take that money and I go out and I do things like I lend money out at 12%. Or I buy rental properties and I use that money to gap fund the bank loan that I get. Or maybe I take that money and I pay off the loan on a car, or I pay off a Visa bill, that I had. And all these things, all I'm doing is doing what the bank does every single day. You see, the bank wants to pay me 0.5%, but then what are they going to do with my money? They locked it up for 6 months, not in my control. They're going to lend that money out at what? 6, 8, 10? You know, some of the lines of credit I'm seeing right now are 10%. Banks make 400 to 1,300% on the money we leave there. And we just think that this is okay. We think this is how it's done. Folks, you are not in control of your bank account. Go to your bank and try to take all your money out. If it's more than 10 grand, you are in for an awakening. You're not going to get all your money back. The bank is not going to give you every penny of it right then and there, no matter how much you complain. And then when you do take your money out, they're going to require you to fill out a bunch of forms. So if it's our money and we can take it anytime we want and we're in control of it, well, then why can't I have it all? And when I take it out, why do I have to fill all these forms out? Folks, the system's broken. It's always been broken because it's been designed to take you out of control of your money. And this is why, to your comment, this is why they don't teach this in school. God forbid they teach you how money really works in school so that why you don't, then you understand the truth. We've been living the big lie when it comes to money. You just have to wake up and realize that what you're doing with money isn't what the wealthy do with their money. It's totally opposite.
So this is definitely what we're all taught. And it has to be one of the biggest mistakes that prevents people from growing their wealth. It has to be that they've bought into this whole concept of stick your money in the bank and wait for someday for this, whatever it ends up being, a couple dollars. Are there some other really big mistakes people make that they could correct like right away?
Yes, there's one huge one. And I kind of talked about it, but let's go into it because it's one of the most important, I think. People put money in these vehicles that we just talked, and there's many more, but they do that, but yet for some reason they're buried in debt. The average household has $30,000 in credit card debt. Now that may not be, anyone watching this, but that's just the average. I'm just calling it out what it is. Mm-hmm. And in a credit card, let me ask you, what do you think a common interest rate is for a credit card?
20%, 22.
Let's be fair. Let's say 15. Let's give the credit cards you're absolutely correct. It's over 20, but let's just say that it's 15%, right? And every month we have no problem paying the credit card companies those monthly payments, right? We make the minimums or we even try to pay a little extra, but it never seems to do anything. And we just keep doing this. And this is just normal to us. We're okay with this. Yeah, but I used the credit card and I didn't pay it off, so I got to pay the interest. We literally give up 90 cents of every single dollar that we make to other people. And the way to build wealth is so much simpler than what people think. Because what if we just had a method where we knew how to take money from one place, pay off our credit cards, or even start paying them down in principal, not by making extra payments to the credit card, because that would be your money not working for you. The only one that wins there is the credit card company. So if we had a method where we could put money, something like what I just said, this specially designed whole life policy called infinite banking or privatized banking, this is what I do. I put my money there. The second it hits my account and clears, I take it right back out. And when I take it out, remember I said I'm making 4% guaranteed? When I take it out, I'm still making 4% because I'm not actually taking my money. You see, the insurance company is actually giving me money from their general account as a loan. But the loan the interest I'm paying on the loan the insurance company gave me is less than what I'm making on my account. Plus, my money never left my account, so it's gaining on uninterrupted compound interest. So I take that money out and I pay off Visa. Now, listen up, because this is the most important part. I pay off Visa. Now, Visa, I was paying 15%. And let's just say my payment on Visa is $100 a month. That 100 represents 15% interest that I was giving away. But now instead of just paying it off and just being like, glad that's gone, and then I go blow that $100 on something stupid next, what if I took that $100 and I just took that 100 I used to give away and now I just paid it back to myself? I just put that money back in this account that pays me 4%. Mm-hmm. Did anything change? No. Actually, I'm by doing that method over and over, whether it's credit cards or car loans or anything else that you use other people's money for. If you slowly take and use this system to pay that off, and then you just take what you were paying them and you take it back, you have no idea how fast you will build wealth. I don't even know how to explain it without showing it, but it will be so much faster than you ever even thought humanly possible, because the one thing you don't understand is you don't understand the power of uninterrupted compound interest, but you don't understand how much money you actually give away every single month until you actually start taking it back and you watch how much money grows in your account. Because the money we give away, that money is where our wealth is going. So if you want to build wealth, everybody wants you to believe that you have to work harder, work longer, take on more risk, or give up control so somebody else can attempt to grow your money in the stock market. That's what you were taught. But really, it's so simple. All you need to do, find a method to change. Well, find a method first, what I just explained, and then take back the money you're giving to everybody else. It's that simple. It's called you being an honest banker. If you're okay giving Visa $100 a month, why would you have a problem giving yourself $100 a month when you don't owe Visa that money anymore. How about what I just did this with Larissa. So you know what push gifts are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we just had our baby. She's, a month old now. And for her push gift, I bought her a new SUV, and she wanted something really safe with like all these gadgets that protect herself. So I bought this SUV and I went to the dealership. And we did our dog and pony thing with the dealership, negotiating the price and the financing. And finally, the dealership comes back, and if I had a piece of paper, he slides a piece of paper across, has the monthly amount. You know how this goes.
Yes.
I'm having a racket. Larissa's embarrassed because she's like, Chris, just buy the vehicle. Stop with this game. And she slides the number over, and it's $954. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And I said, thank you for doing that. And he said, all right, great. Are you ready to move forward? I said, absolutely. Like that's the number we needed. And he starts doing, he's like, okay, I'll do the credit application. I said, no, I don't need the credit applications. I'm going to pay cash for the vehicle. And he said, Chris, why did we just go back and forth with the finance manager to figure this out? I said, well, silly. I needed to know how much money to pay myself back. So whatever amount I was willing to give you and you guys would have charged me, that's the amount I'm just going to pay back to myself. I'll just write you a check for the car. So now this doesn't happen overnight. That's my example, but I've been doing this for many years. So I had the money in this banking system to pay for this car, but that $954 that I would have given to a bank to pay for this car, I'm now just literally, I just set it up on an auto transfer, bill pay, paying it back to myself. Man, it's so much fun when you literally get checks every single month from money that you used to just give away to everybody else. This is so simple to do, and it starts with small things like credit cards or your car insurance. Pay it annually instead of monthly. You make 5%.
So now, do you still have rental property?
I do, lots, and actually, we're selling a lot of them though.
Okay, I thought you did. So, how do you define financial intelligence?
How do I define financial intelligence?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good question. A lot of things. I mean, being in control, but also just having the wherewithal to know where your money goes and to understand that, money that isn't working is the worst money you can have, and it will soon be gone. So I think the smartest thing people can learn is really, you have to just mimic what the banks do and move your money. And that's a wonderful question. And sorry, you kind of caught me off guard with that. Because what is that one thing that defines this? Is it control? Is it learning, how to move money? Because that's one of the most important things you need to do is move your money. Is it knowing where your money goes? I mean, I think real estate is the greatest investment on earth, but it's an investment and it involves risk. So you have to understand the risk. But I love real estate, and all my money from my banking policies, if they're not paying for cars or paying off loans, they are absolutely being moved into real estate, which has afforded us the ability to build a very large rental portfolio and the ability to flip, because with the show we flipped 200, I think to date it's like 259 houses we flipped. Absolute nightmare, but that's what we've done. And we still do it today. But I will tell you, like right now, I know way too much about the stock market, too much. And what is happening right now is what I like to call the Great Houdini. Okay, because what you're seeing in the markets right now, I know some people are excited. Oh, the markets are back. Every day they're going up. I thought it was going to go straight down in March. Folks, all you're witnessing is the biggest market manipulation ever performed. The biggest magic trick ever performed is happening right now. And you wouldn't know this by looking at news, and you wouldn't know this by looking at just the surface, but you have to understand, see, it's called the dark pools and what hedge funds do. It's what I did as a living. There is a drastic, massive problem happening right now, and you just don't see it. And that massive problem, and I could be wrong here, so don't take this, to heart, but just be aware and plan for the worst and hope for the best. I think what you're seeing in the stock market right now is literally setting itself up for a ginormous drop, a huge drop. And it saddens me because I can't hit enough people to help them understand that this is coming. And because of that, people are going to be working into the retirement. 65, 75, 85-year-olds are going to be working not because they want to, but because they have to, because they're not in control of their money. And because they just don't know what they don't know. It's what Will Rogers says. This is what my biggest problem is with what I do? The biggest problem is summed up by a Will Rogers quote. He said, the biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. The biggest problem in America is what people think they know that just ain't so.
Oh, yeah. So, we're in this, certainly this period of time where there's the baby boomer period. That is, it's a whole generation of people that are getting to that stage in their life. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So And the transfer, I know I've heard you speak about the transfer of wealth. So let's talk about that a little bit. How's that going to change the landscape of money?
It's massively changing. And as we speak, this is the largest transfer of wealth in mankind's history as we know it right now. And this transfer of wealth is because you do have the baby boomers who were good savers. They were brought up to save money. Even though they were giving up control, they did save, a large amount of money when it's put together. So now these, these baby boomers, some are retiring in their prior generations. Some of them are graduating. So you have this giant transfer. Some of the transfer means people are changing from accumulation to distribution. They're starting to take money out to live on from their retirement, what it's designed to do. But what they're not ready for is another economic collapse. But here, the thing is baby boomers, I just wish they taught this in school, because what is happening right now and what's about to happen, if you think what you've just seen in March is what the worst is, folks, all that is the invitation to the recession party. You see, the appetizers haven't even come out yet, and the dinner, man, that's still to come. But this is so easy to see because markets work in very rhythmic and predictable patterns. So easy to see. There's 7 to 10 year patterns. How many years has it been since the last recession? Well, some people say it's 10, some people say 11, some people even say 12. But the true answer is probably 12 because it's 2007 is when it started. But that's the longest period of time the markets have ever gone before a correction or a recession. It's the longest. So to see that this was coming was so easy. And all you needed to do was something so very, very simple as just follow Warren Buffett's 3-step rules. Buy low, which baby boomers did. They've been buying the whole time. So effectively they bought low. But then what they don't do, and where this transfer of wealth is going to be a massive problem because of what's about to happen, is they didn't sell high. See, they just stayed in because of greed, okay? They stayed in the markets. And now, the third thing that Warren Buffett says is buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. You can't not lose money if you don't take your gains off the table. So when the markets are at the top, the high point, like I'm completely divested from the market outside of trades that I do on a day in and day out basis. I make a trade in the morning, I sell it in the afternoon, or I make a trade in the evening and I sell it in the morning. That's all I do in the market right now. But that's not what the average public's doing. The average public is being told to put their money back in the market because you're missing out on the opportunity that March performed or March created. That's scary. This transfer is absolutely going to be affected by what is happening right now and what's going to happen from this COVID recession, or, some people like Ray Dalio throwing out the D word, the depression word. So you just have to be ready, but nobody's ready. Nobody's ready. And that means that this transfer of wealth is going to be affected. And it's not only going to be affected, it's going to hurt people, and it's going to force people to work into the retirement, which is going to increase the amount of jobs that are going to be necessary. And it's going to drive, I'm not going to go into this doomsday thing, but it's going to drive the pay down, because there's going to be so many people looking for work when these people should have been retired. And then the graduation thing, that's the bigger thing. A lot of people are going to graduate. I mean, two things are certain in life: death and taxes. That graduation is going to create inheritance. It's going to create transfer of wealth. That's going to be even bigger. And when that starts kicking in, I mean, that will be really, I hate to take a terrible thing like that, but that's going to be really good for the economy, for the early generations, because that transfer is going to come back. And as long as it comes back the right way, it's going to create opportunities in the form of capital to use to start new companies, use to, pivot in these times. I mean, you got to sometimes see the bad or the good in the bad. And that's a tough thing to do.
Well, you talk about something called the money multiplier. So is that just in the way you treat your money, or the way you use your money, or the way you grow your money? What does that exactly mean for people that might wonder?
Sure. So if somebody Googled the money multiplier, it's just a Fed term. Okay. But the reason we call our company the money multiplier is simply because that's what we do. I mean, the system that I talked about, where I take money, I put it into these specially designed and engineered whole lives. Now, people know whole life insurance is a terrible place to put money because of Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, which I agree with them. It's a terrible investment, but what we're doing with it is so different than what they're telling people is a terrible investment. And also, the specially designed whole lives are not an investment. They're guaranteed, so it can't be an investment. So I put money over there. The money multiplier is nothing more than moving your money the way that the bank does. So banks make 400 to 1,300% on the deposits that we leave there. That's what they make. I mean, look it up on BauerFinancial.com. But what we need to do is we need to put our money somewhere where it's going to earn what they call uninterrupted compound interest. Most people don't even understand this. Most people understand compound interest in the sense that they put their money somewhere and they have to leave it in order to have that compound effect. The money multiplier is putting your money somewhere that's going to pay you uninterrupted compound interest, but then you have the ability to take that money right back out without interrupting the compound effect. So that compound effect means your money in this account continues to grow and compound on top of itself without any interruptions, but yet you take all of that money out and you use that money. And what do we use it for? Well, I lend it out as a private investor. I use it to buy rentals. I use it to buy flips. I use it for marketing for my wholesale business. I use it to pay down debts and buy cars, like I said. But then what I do, the difference is, even though I'm making money over here, when I use that money, there's always going to be a recapture. In other words, I'm flowing money in a circle. I take it, I put it over here. I take it out, I move it over here. Over here, it generates money. And a lot of people are like, I don't know how to generate money. We already talked about that. Pay off your credit cards. Pay off your car notes. Take the money you're giving to the car note company. Take the money you were giving to the credit card. Then take that money, and instead of giving it to them, put it back into your account. Then when the money goes in there, it's immediately available again. As soon as your check clears, remove it and rinse and repeat and keep moving the money. So the money multiplier is nothing more than it's exactly what we do. We multiply money by taking back the money that you're giving away to everybody else.
So, and you're taking it back in the form of a loan?
So when we take the money from the insurance company?
Yes. Okay.
Very important to talk about this. So the reason we never interrupt our flow of our interest, our compound interest, is because we're not taking our money out of the account. The insurance company is loaning that money to us. Now, a loan is a bad word, right? People are thinking, wait, Chris, you're telling me to take a loan to pay off another loan. That seems so stupid and it doesn't make any sense. So let's dissect that. When you take a loan from these insurance companies, first off, there's no credit app, there's no applications, there's not a single question. You click a button and the money's in your account because you've already got the money in your banking policy, and that money is used as collateral. The insurance company loans you this money. Now, a loan, is there interest on the loan? Absolutely. It's 5% for most of the companies that we work with. But how much money are we making on our money in that account? Right. So I already talked about a 4%, 100% guaranteed interest rate that we make. So that's only part of it. See, these are mutually owned insurance companies. Therefore, and they're giant ones. The biggest one we use is a company called Mass Mutual. And Mass Mutual in 2020, just so I'm clear and transparent, is paying a 2.2% dividend. So what is 4 plus 2.2? 6.2. How much did I just say the insurance company is willing to give me the money at? 5. What is my net arbitrage on that? 1.2. So if I'm making 6.2 and I'm paying 5%, I'm making 1.2. But that's just where it starts. You see, I'm making 1.2, then I take that money and I pay off another loan that I was paying 15% on, that credit card. But then that credit card money that I used to pay them, that $100, I put that money back in my account, paying the loan down to the insurance company. Okay. So I'm effectively paying down my own note because it's really my note. Here's the thing too about the loans with the insurance company, and this is going to drive people bonkers. That loan never, ever has to be paid back. It doesn't. Why? And people are like, whoa. Why would the insurance company lend you money as a loan and not want that money back? I didn't say they didn't want it back. But what else did you get when you signed up for this specially designed whole life? And I'll tell you, you got a death benefit that will be paid out upon the time of your death. I call that graduation. And when
graduation.
that death benefit, it's just a nice way of saying that.
Wait a minute now.
When that death benefit's paid out, which is paid out on every one of these contracts, that death benefit is reduced by the amount of your loan. So when you take these loans, they don't have to be paid back because really what you're doing is leveraging your death benefit while you're living.
Yeah.
But now I do pay my loans back because I'm flowing my money. But do you have to? No. I do, just simply because I want to keep more and more money moving. The more I keep moving, the bigger that pot of money gets, the faster it keeps moving, the more compounding it has. Albert Einstein understood math better than I think any human being to ever. I don't even think he was human, right? I think he's an alien, but that's okay. That's just my opinion. Albert Einstein called uninterrupted compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. He said it was the most powerful thing in the financial world. None of us really are ever taught what uninterrupted compound interest really means. There's this one person came up with this cool analogy, and you've heard this. Would you take $1 million or a penny doubled every day for 30 days? right? You already know the answer because, we've heard this before, but that is demonstrating uninterrupted compound interest. And for some of you that have not heard that, you'd probably be like, oh, I take the $1 million. I can make more off the $1 million. The answer is no, you cannot. That penny doubled every single day for 30 days. Turns into $5.3 million. I don't care what you do with that million in 30 days. You probably, I'm not going to say it's impossible. You probably could never turn it into 5.3 million. That is the power of uninterrupted compound interest. So what I just explained, that money multiplier method of just moving money in a very simple, easy way. There's nothing complicated about this. You literally have something that every single day will always have more money. Here's an analogy, and I often do this because it's the easiest way to mentally picture what's happening. Picture in your garage, you have a vending machine, and every morning you walk out to your vending machine and you put $1 bill in your vending machine. We've all done this. And then your vending machine, though, gives you your $1 bill back. You're like, sweet, I got my $1 bill back. But then it drops a cup and it gives you your coffee. You're like, wow, I got my $1 back and I got my coffee. Today's a good day. And then you're just about to walk away and you hear chink, chink, and it drops some change in the change drawer. So you grab your change. You're like, whoa, I got my $1, I got my coffee, and I got some change. What would you do? Well, you'd go back to that machine the next day and you do the same darn thing. But the next day you come back, you repeat that same thing and it gives you your $1 back. It gives you your coffee. But then the change drawer goes cha-chink, cha-chink, cha-chink. It gives you more money back. And every day you do this, you get more money back in that change drawer and it never stops. It's impossible for uninterrupted compound interest to go any way but up. That vending machine is what I do every day with my money. And it's what I teach people to do. So everybody wants to think money is very complicated. There is absolutely nothing complicated. Actually, it's silly what I do with money to really think about how easy and simple it is. You've just never been taught that your money can do this. You've just never been shown this. But every wealthy person I've ever met, every wealthy person I interviewed for my book is using this system.
So that's the secret of the wealthy then?
Well, it's one. I mean, there's lots of secrets. I mean, I've got 2 books that talk about the secrets, the Private Money Guide, and I'll give your audience both books for free. But the thing, that's just one thing. I mean, wealthy people certainly love real estate. So, but the thing that's different about, the biggest secret, which is what we just discussed, is where the money starts. And that involves changing one thing. Right now, you pay yourself, or you get paid your paycheck, but then that money goes out to everybody else and you keep what's left. To do this system, all you need to do is change one thing. You change where that money goes first. So that money goes into this system and then comes right back out and pays all your bills. Now, your money perpetually for the rest of your life until you graduate will always be earning uninterrupted compound interest. We've just literally think about the impact that has in someone's life.
So to be clear, I know people are probably going, okay, let me back up here. So you're putting your money in, you're borrowing it back out, but you're paying it back so that it grows. If you stopped at some point paying it back, then you've got less money than, obviously you can't take it out forever if you never put any back.
No, that's actually not even true. That's where it kind of gets really silly. So even if you never paid the loans back, remember that spread I talked about in the first year of 1.2. So the next year, it's not just 1.2, it's slightly more because remember your money you had in there compounded. So now you're working off of a higher base. So that amount, that spread, that what I call arbitrage is more. Is less. And every single year, your money's compounding. And the interest rate from the insurance company, let's just say it's static at 5%, that's simple interest. So even if I never paid the loans back, just by math, by simple mathematics, it's impossible for your money not to go up. It will always go up and have more in it, even if you never paid the loans back. But why wouldn't you pay the loans back, right?
Right.
You're okay paying all the loans back to the banks. You've never, ever found a problem in writing checks every single month to everybody else to pay those loans back. So now you don't have those loans. Why would it be a problem to take that money that you used to give away to Visa, to your bank, to the finance company, and just pay it back to yourself? You're literally just becoming the bank. But the good thing is you are in control because you call the terms. You don't like paying 15% to Visa? Great. Pay yourself back at 6. You pick the number, no one else. You're just so used to everybody telling you what you owe and how much you have to pay that you've never thought that you could be the bank and you could determine your own future by determining what your repayment schedule is going to look like. It's so fun and it's magical once you start using it, but it is a new concept. So it is hard for people to wrap their head around it because especially right here, I'm not doing any visuals. I'm just explaining it. But if somebody had interest in this, I have a video that I do that teaches exactly how this works. There's no sales in it. It just teaches you how it works. I have this book, which I'm going to give everybody, which teaches you exactly how it works. And once you understand it, the biggest thing that happens, and I do Facebook Lives about this all the time, is people see it, they read the book or they watch the video, and the first words are, "This just looks too good to be true." And we've been taught that when something looks too good to be true, it must be, right? Okay, so why has this isn't some snake oil thing. This has been around for hundreds of years. It was created by the Rockefellers, the JP Morgans, and the Stanleys back in their day because they didn't trust banks. So just like you shouldn't trust banks right now. They trusted insurance companies because they were larger, more secure, and they didn't use fractional lending and reserve banking. A dollar's worth a dollar to an insurance company. It's called Austrian economics. So that's where it started. And it has never, ever changed. That's the funny thing. People are like, well, whole life, I've heard that's a terrible place to put money. And I challenge them. I say, okay, I'll make you a deal. You find me a machine that will do exactly what I just told you that this stupid, specially designed whole life policy does. You find me a machine that does that better and does it guaranteed like the insurance companies do. And I promise you, in 30 days flat, I will change every one of my presentations. I will cancel every one of my videos that are out there, and I'll reshoot every video using this new machine. The fun thing about that challenge is there isn't another vehicle, and there hasn't been for hundreds of years. So I'll never have to change this presentation because this has been being done this way for a long, long time. Banks use this. Banks are the number one users of this. That's why there's so many vice presidents. You see, to get this specially designed whole life, you have to have a body to insure. Banks aren't a body, they're a corporation, they're an entity. So what does a bank have to do? It has to borrow a life. Well, the rules are very clear. Now, Walmart bent these rules and got slapped and fined and sued big for this, but banks didn't bend the rules. Banks just promote internal employees to vice presidents. That's why there's so many VPs. Vice presidents are what they call an executive, and as an executive, they are an insurable interest for the bank. So the bank can offer a deferred compensation, which is funded by this system I just told you. They basically take out a whole life insurance policy on that employee. They give that employee a fully paid up insurance policy so that when that employee graduates, that employee's family gets a paid up death benefit, and they get a deferred compensation so that they'll get a paycheck till the day they die. How is all this possible? The insurance company understands the bank understands what I just explained, that process of moving money and uninterrupted compound interest. The bank just gives the insurance company the money. They deposit it. And over the time, they keep using it. When that employee is ready to retire, they basically pay out a deferred comp. So it just comes right from that insurance policy. But when that employee graduates, this is why the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, those families never, ever can run out of money. When that employee graduates, okay, even though they've been retired for 30 years, they graduate. There's two death benefits paid out. It's really one, but it's paid out to two people. One might be that $100,000 that's paid out to that employee's family. And she's thankful for that. She's like, my gosh, I didn't know he had this. And I'm so thankful that he worked for a bank that provided this. Then the bank gets a big old death benefit. So if it's 100 to the employee, it's maybe $1 million to the bank. That money reimburses the bank for 100% of every penny they ever put into it, and then some, and then some, and then some. And that bank just repeats and redoes that same cycle over and over. Wow. The Rothschilds' wealth is built on the same thing through trust planning. It's all the same thing. Folks, everything that you know and see and watch happen right under your nose, a lot of it is using this exact silly system that I just said. It's called privatized banking in that upper echelon, and it's been being done this way forever.
Fascinating. So I know that you wrote a book. You had a book on private money guide, but you have a new book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. So
that's the original book, The Private Money Guide. And that's literally, it's a guide on where all the money is and how to go and find it without asking for it. But this is the real book. If you were even partly or remotely fascinated by anything I just said, this is the book that will show you what if you could get all the money back for every purchase you've ever made and create wealth through your own debts and expenses that you already have. This is it. And I want to give both of these books, whichever book your audience wants. I want to give them both to them for free. They just pay the shipping, and I'll give you the books for free. And I can give you a link for that, or I can just tell them what it is, whatever you prefer.
You can give me a link, and I'll put it in the show notes because I want to be sure that they have that. There's definitely two books I want. So before we wrap this up, I know you have a lot of programs. The Money School. Let's talk about your programs and what you have to offer people.
Sure. I mean, the number one program that I have is called MSTV. It's Money School TV. And it was literally created in light of COVID. When COVID hit, we had a road team that went out and we taught this stuff across the country in 3-day seminars. But when COVID hit, that all stopped. So we came back and I literally spent weeks on end without really sleeping much and my entire team backing me up. And we pivoted and recreated what has now come to be probably one of my greatest creations. And that is MSTV. It is a community, nothing more than a community that we call the movement. And that community holds everything that I do, all my teachings, all my trainings, all my coaching is done inside this platform. Everything is within MSTV. But my wife stepped in on this because I remember I created this. It was going to be a monthly membership or an annual membership program. And I told my wife what I was going to charge, which I didn't think was much at all. I thought it was a ridiculously inexpensive price. My wife looked me in the eyes, and you'd have to know my wife, Larissa, but she looks me in the eyes and she says, absolutely not. And I said, oh, what do you mean? No, what, not what? You're not charging that much. I said, Riss, like, that's not even that a lot. She's like, this is COVID. People are losing their jobs. They don't have extra money and they need what you do. So you need to reduce the price. I said, okay, genius. How much should I do this for? She looks me in the eye and she says, $19 a month sounds good. $19. And I looked at her and I said, sweetie, we will go bankrupt. We will not have enough money to pay our employees. You know what she says to me? My wife is so witty. She says to me, she said, well, you better figure it out.
Oh, whoa.
That's what she says to me. So you know what I did? Just like any smart husband, I figured it out. It's a numbers game. It's all it was. Just like multiplying your money, it's just a numbers game. So that's what it is. It is the community where every month we do 2 hours of coaching. Every single week I'm doing multiple trainings. I've got a list right here. These are all the trainings I did this week. And every week I've got a whole file. But the trainings are very different than any other platform. The trainings are relevant to what's happening right now. Right now is what matters because next week, new things will happen. Last week, things were different than they are this week. Things are changing. We're in changing times. And the only time that matters is, like my watch says, it's now. So all the trainings we do are short little 10 to 20 minute videos, all very relevant to why it's important to you right now, what problem it will solve for you right now. That's it. But it's not just me. It's me and every one of my mentors. Remember I talked about all those multimillionaires and billionaires? Guess who's doing the trainings? Those multimillionaires and billionaires. Wow. And they're training on one topic that's relevant for what's happening right now. And tonight, I'm so excited. Tonight, I've got Scott Duffy coming on. Scott Duffy used to be partners with Sir Richard Branson in Virgin Airlines. He had a charter airline, but Scott Duffy lost everything because in 2008, nobody was flying charter and he lost the entire business, but he was partners and he has gone on to be one of the most recognized names in entrepreneur space. So he's coming on to coach for 2 hours with me tonight. And that's all we do. And then there's one-on-one coach. There's so much stuff in there, but it's literally $19 a month or $190 a year.
They can get started because times are tough for a lot of people now. So that's an awesome benefit. And if they want to scale up or get more intense coaching, then they can do that find out all about that within MSTV for $19 a month. Yep. Well, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
You know, the best way is social media. You know, I could give you a whole bunch of things, but you could either go to my website, chrisnaugle.com, or just find me on Facebook or Instagram. I answer every question still. And it's overwhelming, but I do. So just find Chris Naugle. It's Naugle. Find me on social media and just send me a DM. Okay. If you go to my personal Facebook page, it's maxed out. So you got to find my business page. I still answer every message. So that's the best way.
The baby and that is why you get no sleep, Chris.
That's very true. My gosh. Don't even get me started about that.
Well, folks, this has been a great show and I hope you learned something. I know that what you talk about has always been a little bit of a mystery. And I hope that for people, they've kind of are able to wrap their brain around it. But I want to be sure that pick up the book, because sometimes you hear things, if you're like me, you hear it. Maybe I actually do read books and I might need to read it. You might need to, is it available on an audiobook yet?
Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery is not, but the Private Money Guide, you can just go to Amazon. You can get this in an audiobook. But this one, because this book launched right as COVID was happening, this book launched. So I haven't been able to record or in New York, we really can't really go anywhere.
You can't go anywhere. You're trapped.
Yes. So there will be, but it might be a year out.
Well, folks, be sure to check this out, and I'll put the links in the show notes. And Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, it was an honor. Thank you for having me, and your questions were wonderful.
Yeah. And thanks to all the listeners for showing up. And I will see all of you same time, same place next week. And have a great rest of your week. Thanks again.